Hello everyone. So today's video is going to be about interpreting signs and the various methods through which I'm talking about this and how to interpret signs and perhaps even if there are signs. So when we have a certain set of beliefs or a certain set of spiritual practices, we tend to draw lines between things. And sometimes maybe we should, other times maybe we shouldn't. And maybe it can be both real and unreal at once. And perhaps the latter doesn't necessarily have to exist without the former. So what am I talking about when I say this? I'll give an example. So last night, this is just one example, and we're going to go into other things as well. So last night, I was meditating in front of Ma Kali, like usual, like I do every day for at least 10 minutes. And I noticed when I came out of meditation and I looked upon her face was, I wouldn't say completely black, but much darker than usual. I've never seen it this dark. I've never really seen her face dark at all. Bronze statue. But I was like, huh, I thought that was strange. And then I found out that while I was meditating, my dog had a seizure. And she's very old, and her kidneys are failing. She hasn't been eating very much, and she's very old. It's about time. So it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't like came out of nowhere. It's been coming for a while. But I found it interesting that I saw Ma Kali's face behind me as black, and I didn't know what happened. I didn't know that this had happened until I, went out of this room. But yeah, it definitely felt and feels like Ma Kali was giving me a sign that like, ooh, something bad just happened. You need to go like check it out. Um, and I thought before I went even knew anything was wrong, I did clearly register that Ma Kali's face was like black. Not completely black, but much darker than I've ever seen it. And when you do pujas, when you do rituals, when you worship the Divine Mother through your particular statue, it's pretty common to see the statue move a little bit, change expressions. Not anything very huge or elaborate, but definitely move. And it never feels weird at the time because it's not the supernatural things stop being weird when you've been doing this for a while. They stop seeming weird. But there's another side to it. I could have rewritten that memory, or perhaps it's one of those things that I only, kept in my memory because of what I realized or saw directly after meditation. There's all kinds of things we forget all the time that we register and then we just kind of push out of our minds. Um, but no, those two memories now are very much connected, and the former memory is solidified as precluding the latter. I guess that's the definition of former and latter, but but yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Also, another example. So I have a set of runes that I made myself. I cut the branch, I cut it into pieces, carved them, wood burned them, put a little bit of my blood on them, then painted them all red. I have them in a bag. And I consider them a source of power and a powerful set that's very much aligned with me and very much imbued with power because I made them myself, and I've been using them for so long, and I've empowered them in so many different ways. And anytime that I'm like feeling a little, I don't always feel like I need to draw a rune, and I rarely draw 3 runes, but when I feel like I need a little bit of direction or figure out where I'm going in life, or perhaps I'm not really sure what I'm doing and I just need to learn from one of the runes. And 24 of them. And I'll pick one and I'll just, I'll draw it, I'll paint it on a piece of paper and then carry it with me. And I'll think about this rune, I'll think about how it applies to my life. I'll think about its meaning and what this primordial spirit, as I call them, is trying to teach me, and why I drew it, and why this rune in particular was calling me. And I tend to, once again, this is a memory that I could have altered, in full honesty. But every time I need to change something up, and then that's the lesson, I always draw Hagalaz. It's also my birth rune, and it is where we get the capital N, but it's kind of like two lines like this, one line in the middle. It's like a capital N if you just kind of move the line up like that a little bit more. Hagalaz, it is rune disruption, hail, storm. It is my birth rune, October 29th. But Hagalaz is a rune. Usually when I draw that rune, I think that I need to change something up, and I've become stagnant. And the rune is calling for me to change something up, to either get rid of something something I've been holding on to. Sometimes it's a physical object, sometimes it's an idea. I need to break a routine, or I need to continue with the positive routines and not go back to the bad routines. That's usually the flavor of thoughts that I have with this rune that I usually think of as disruption, Hagalaz, hail. We read the word hail from. Now, the frequency that I draw this rune at, like how many times I've drawn this rune, and, you know, once again, in my memory, it's always at times when I need to change something up, like I said. But the frequency by which I draw this rune, it could mean that I just cut all of these runes at oblong sizes in a way that makes this one easier to grab than other ones, since they're all in a bag and I reach my hand in. That could be it as well. They could be both explanations. Perhaps it doesn't really matter. Now, I believe the explanation that I told you first, that this rune is is calling to me, and I draw it when I need to draw it. But you have to be open-minded about, maybe you're just wrong, maybe you're just a little cuckoo. And I feel like on a spiritual path, or as a person, you don't grow if you try to convince yourself too hard that you're right, that this is the way things are, and this is the nature of reality. If you practice that magician's thing, where it's like you just gotta believe your magic into existence, or believe that it's gonna work, or divination, or spirituality, or religion, whatever it is, just you believing hard enough is the problem. If you do that, I see a lot of people trap themselves in boxes like that, and they don't tend to grow. They convince themselves to greater and greater degrees, and sometimes that actually makes things work. But, you know, a lot of people would say that's how it works. You have to believe. But I see a lot of people trap themselves in boxes, and they're lying to themselves about doubting, because they feel like if they lie to themselves hard enough, then there won't be any more doubts. And they think that faith is always blind faith. Faith, it became blind faith over time. Faith started out as experiential. You have faith based on experience. You experience spiritual things, and then you have faith that these experiences happened. It's also kind of devolved into signs, like the ones I'm talking about, but it used to be in a bigger way. You're physically, internally experiencing God and all its various varieties, different God spirits. You're having an inside experience and external experience with these various beings, these various sections, the grander whole, if you will. That used to be what faith meant. You have faith not just in the experiences, but that these experiences are guiding you. Now it's mostly devolved into blind faith, our understanding of faith and how it works. And I think that, in a way, in divination and magic and the occult or spirituality, we've kind of gotten the same sickness from that religion is caught, which is blind faith is faith. So I don't think that doubting or using a healthy amount of logic, or trying not too hard to convince yourself, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, or that's not going to make what you're doing just not work. I think that it's healthy to be able to look at things with different hats on. You might have a logic hat. You might have a spirituality hat. You might have an emotion hat. You might have a no emotion, just logic, just mathematics hat. You can put on different hats to think about these things. If you want to put on just your logic hat, do that. And think about it something just logically. If you want to put on your spirituality hat, put on that hat. If you want to divide the spirituality hat in different sections, whether it can be a faith section, it can be a stories section, the stories that you've read, that you've heard, comparing it to different stories. And another part of the faith hat can be the creativity part of it. How can I change things and improve things to where I can make these experiences more solid? But anyway, there's all kinds of hats you can put on and look at things from different perspectives. Don't trap yourself inside of a box. I've had a number of dreams that have really influenced how we think about things. Last night, and this could be a whole nother sign, I can read all kinds of things into this based on my life, but I had a dream. I often have vivid dreams, but I had a dream that, by the way, there's this funny thing that, I don't know, remember where I read this, but that if you don't dream anymore and you don't remember them, then your subconscious has stopped talking to you because it's given up and that you're not listening. I don't know if that's true, but that stuck in my head. And I guess before I go into the dream, I'll also say, I can't tell you how many people have contacted me. I mean, a lot, that they're worried that their former lover or a former family member that either they're not in their life anymore or they died, they have something of theirs, or they have a number of things of theirs, and they feel like that person, and they had like a negative, or ended badly, or they had a negative relationship with that person, or is very abusive, that they still have their stuff, or they can't get rid of it, or they feel like they can't get rid of all of it because there's so much. They feel like there's this negative energy attached, and this negative energy is following them around. It's messing up things in their life still, even though that person's not there. And it's really making them depressed, is bringing them down. And whether the person's alive or dead, that person's energy is attached to it, and it's getting to them. And this might sound crazy, but there's milder versions of what I'm talking about that's essentially the same thing. But none of this is particularly crazy. I feel like I can use that term because I've been called crazy before, so it's like, whatever. Own it. But yeah, so contacted about these things, and there's a few things going on that I always think that I gently try to tell somebody that you're both doing it to a lot of the time, vast majority, not all of it, the majority of the time, that person didn't have a strong enough energy to actually leave something behind to affect you. And you're really convincing yourself and doing it to yourself. And because you have this fear around this person and the objects connected to that person. And you're psyching yourself into a fear box, and you're doing it to yourself. Now, sometimes the person's energy is strong enough to attach to something, and it really does do that. But so many people think that that's happening when it's just like, no, you're kind of doing it to yourself, or the fear is so innate or connected to trauma that it underlies your thinking in so many ways that it hamstrings you. And it causes you, and then that fear causes you to not realize how strong you are to heal, to get past something. It's 9 times out of 10, it's that. Patiently talk to somebody to help them into a place where they understand that, without just saying like, you're doing it to yourself, because that's the last thing you want to tell somebody. Unless they're really, really ready to hear the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Which few people are, to be honest. I mean, hell, even I'm not most of the time. I tend to be more hard on myself, though, and give myself the truth. But yeah, so there's so much of this stuff that it's so easy to get rid of, yet so hard, because we're kind of trapping ourselves. And it's amazing how we get attached to fear, or how we get attached to our superstitions, and it ends up stopping us from actually achieving things that we want. At any rate, let's go back to the dream. So I had a dream last night that in order to get certain powers to help something somehow, I had to have my chest cut open. And I was around a lot of I was around spiritual beings in a weird place. I had to get my chest cut open and then my heart taken out and then attached to a weird cosmic baby by the umbilical cord to my heart and then put back in my chest. But I didn't want to go through that crap awake, so they put me under by having me possessed by Odin. And then I woke up and, I realized the operation had happened. My heart had been attached to a weird cosmic baby through the umbilical cord, as one does, and was put back in my chest, but it wasn't healed yet. And I was like, shit, I got to get Odin to possess me again so he can heal my chest fully because, everything's back in, but it needs to be pushed back together and healed. So this time when I was possessed by Odin, like I felt the power of Odin and the fury, but the intelligence and the bright, bright eyes and the power. I felt it all. And then I used that power to merge my chest and heal my chest back together. And then things went pretty swimmingly after that. I had the power that I needed and yada, yada. I could read a whole lot into that though. And there's nothing wrong with reading a whole lot into it. In fact, I do. But it could just be a dream. It could. The important thing is we look at things from different perspectives. We understand that signs don't have to be, and we don't always make signs into things. Sometimes we do. Be open. And if interpreting something in a certain way is beneficial to you in your mental health and to get you to do something or allows something to happen or allows you to allow something to happen in your life, then use that interpretation. And once again, most of the things that I'm saying, I actually believe the more supernatural option. But, who knows? And really, that's kind of all I got to say about signs is that be open to multiple interpretations. Don't hamstring yourself, and be able to look at things from different angles. All directed towards, if you're looking out for danger in your life, and you're trying to avoid something, and you think like this is telling you to avoid something, follow that. That can be positive too, but channel all of your efforts and all of your understanding into something that will help you. Be willing to put on those different hats. Don't trap yourself in a box. And yeah, this has been how to read your signs. Thank you very much for watching. Like this video, helps out the channel. Leave a comment, also helps out the channel, gets traffic to the channel. Feel free to share this wherever you like. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day.